Welcome to this week's What's for Dinner video. My name is Ashley. I post a video every single Sunday where I show you 3 different meals I made during the week. I don't always follow recipes exactly, but if you are interested, I've linked some similar recipes down below. The first dinner I'm going to be showing you, I made some barbecue chicken thighs and some baked potatoes. This week was pretty busy for me, so these meals are just made from stuff that I already had on hand and are super easy. So for my baked potatoes, I just drizzled some oil on them and then I sprinkled some salt and rubbed it in around the potato. And now I'm just going to press a fork into the potato as best as I could. This will go in the oven at about 400 degrees. For my chicken thighs, I just used 3 chicken thighs and I trimmed off as much fat as I could. I'm not a huge fan of chicken thighs for that reason, it being a lot of fat on them. I am just using this seasoning from a market that we used for Super Bowl. It is just a barbecue seasoning that you put on ribs and any other meat. So I have a pan with a little bit of oil and then I'm just going to place each chicken thigh in the pan and let it cook on both sides until it's cooked all the way through. So after a couple minutes of cooking on the one side, I just flipped them when they were nice and brown. And then I'm going to brush on some barbecue sauce. My favorite barbecue sauce is the Sweet Baby Ray's, the original, I believe. I'm then going to place a lid on the chicken just to make sure it's cooked all the way through and keep it warm. I think my baked potatoes were in the oven for about 40 minutes or just around that. Now I'm going to cut my baked potatoes. If anyone knows a better way to push in a potato when it's super hot, please let me know. So I'm just going to struggle pushing my baked potatoes in and then I'm going to add my toppings. I'm just adding some butter. I'm going to add some cheddar cheese, some sour cream, and some green onions. We don't eat baked potatoes very often, but I think we should. They seem very classy, just like a nice, classy side. This is how everything looked when it was done. Just a nice, super easy meal. The next dinner I'm going to be showing you, I just made an easy super chicken quesadilla with some homemade guacamole. So I'm just starting out with 1 chicken breast. I'm trimming off the fat and then I'm going to butterfly it in half. I like to cook my chicken in thin pieces. So I'm going to start seasoning my chicken. I'm just using this taco seasoning from Costco, some garlic salt, and some cumin. I ended up going with more of a dry rub for the chicken instead of drizzling some oil just to make it a little bit more charred looking. So I have a pan with some oil heating up and now I'm just going to place both chicken breasts in the pan. I'm going to let this cook until it's nice and brown on the one side and then I'm going to flip it. Again, I like to put a lid after I flip my chicken. I do this to make sure it cooks all the way through, but also keep the chicken nice and juicy. While the chicken was finishing cooking, I decided to make some guacamole. I don't get super crazy with my homemade guacamole when I'm just doing it for some dinner. I just use some seasonings, some lime juice, and some avocado. I'm going to use some garlic salt, some lime juice, some pepper, and some onion powder. I'm just going to give this a nice mix and mash it all together. I ended up using another half of an avocado, so I used 2 avocados in total. I am such a sucker for chips and guacamole. I could have eaten that entire bowl if I was not supervised. So I let the chicken rest for a couple minutes, and now I'm just going to chop the chicken into small slices, and then I will put this in the quesadillas. This chicken was so juicy and had so much flavor. So now I'm going to start with the quesadillas. I just made 1/2 for me. I just layered a little bit of cheddar cheese. I added some of the chicken, and then I'm going to add some white quesadilla cheese on top. So I actually left all the leftover juices in the pan, and this is how I made my quesadilla, so it added a lot of flavor to the outside. So I'm just going to close the quesadilla, let it cook on the one side, and then I'm going to flip it. This is how everything looked when it was done. One of the best quesadillas ever, of course, with my homemade guacamole, some sour cream, and just some lettuce. The last dinner I'm going to show you, I just made some super easy fried rice and some chicken egg rolls, pot stickers. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of oil and some butter, and then I'm going to add some garlic and let that saute. Next, I'm going to add in my frozen vegetables, so I'm just going to add in some frozen peas and carrots. I actually like a lot of vegetables in mine, so I'm just going to let these cook down until they're nice and soft. I'm going to season the vegetables a little bit with some onion powder and some garlic salt. We also do like egg in our fried rice, so I'm just going to crack 2 eggs. There's no point in scrambling them in another bowl. I'm just going to keep it all in one pan, make it easier. It all worked out the same way, so I'm just going to scramble them in this same pan, and then I'm going to mix it all together. When you do start mixing everything together, you do want to make sure you scrape off kind of the bottom of the pan and get whatever left of the egg residue. So now I'm going to add in my rice. The most crucial step for fried rice made at home is to cook your rice ahead of time and let it dry out, put it in the fridge. So this was cooked actually only 2 hours ahead of time, so this sat out for about 1.5 hours, which is not the most ideal. Usually the day before makes perfect fried rice, but this still worked just fine. So I'm going to season the fried rice with some onion powder and some pepper. Another thing I like to do for fried rice is kind of scoop from the bottom, like you're kind of flipping it, just so you're not stirring the rice, making it even more mushy. Now I'm going to add in some soy sauce. I like to go by taste, so I will probably add some more in later. I also do have my pan on pretty high. It's like on an 8 or a 9, just to keep the pan super hot so it'll fry. So this is where I start adding in my seasonings and taste testing. Just want to make sure everything is tasting good and adding what else is needed. This is how the fried rice looked when it was done. I just cooked a couple pot stickers on the side. Thank you so much for watching this week's What's for Dinner video, and make sure you come back next week for another one.